Hello, I am Sergeant Dennis Keithley. This video was produced by the Lake County Sheriff's Office in our continued commitment to transparency with the community we serve. This video you are about to see contains information related to the incident. A few things to remember as you watch this debrief. Investigations frequently take many weeks, months, or sometimes even years. It is important not to jump to conclusions based solely on what you see or hear in this video. There are many factors taken into consideration as we do a full and comprehensive investigation. Contained within the files of our website are the documents and communications related to the case. The purpose for this critical incident debrief is to provide you with the information pertaining to the use of force incident which occurred on September 23rd, 2021 at approximately 07:45 hours in Kelseyville, California. The release of this information is intended to provide transparency and give our community a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know at this time. It is important to note in this case, the involved deputy inadvertently left his body camera at a charging station, so there is no video available of the incident. The video shown in this debrief is the interview with the reporting party after the incident. On Wednesday, September 23rd, 2021 at approximately 07:45 hours, Vivian Alarm Company notified Central Dispatch of an alarm activation at 6240 Soda Bay Road in Kelseyville. The owner of the residence had also been notified of the alarm activation and contacted the reporting party, who is a neighbor, and asked him to go to the address to check on it. The reporting party arrived at the residence and found the front door to the residence damaged. He then contacted Central Dispatch and reported locating a male, later identified as Chad Savick, at the residence and requested a deputy respond to the address. Detective Cody White was dispatched to the residence. Detective White arrived on scene at approximately 09:26 hours. Upon arrival, Detective White walked to the rear of the residence where he located the reporting party and Savick. Savick was sitting in a chair on the deck of the residence. Detective White spoke with the reporting party, who said Savick claimed to know the owner of the residence, which the reporting party knew was false. The reporting party also told Detective White he checked on the residence 2 days prior and the front door to the residence was not damaged. Detective White attempted to speak to Savick, and Savick had an agitated demeanor and showed signs and symptoms of being under the influence of a controlled substance. Detective White walked to the front door of the residence and checked the front door for damage. Detective White saw the metal door was significantly damaged and partially forced open. When he inspected further, he saw numerous shoe prints on the door indicating it was kicked several times in an attempt to force open. Due to suspecting Savick caused the damage to the front door, Detective White returned to Savick and requested to see the soles of his shoes. Savick refused to comply. Detective White ordered Savick to stand up and place his hands behind his back, and Savick refused to comply. Detective White ordered Savick a second time to stand up and place his hands behind his back, and he refused to comply. Detective White attempted to stand Savick up, and Savick lunged towards Detective White, pushing him to the ground. When he did, Detective White grabbed Savick's shirt, pulling Savick to the ground with him. Savick landed on top of Detective White with Savick's hands near Detective White's neck area. Detective White attempted to break Savick's grasp by striking him, but the strike was ineffective and Savick continued to physically resist. Detective White ordered Savick to stop resisting and place his hands behind his back. Savick continued to grab onto Detective White while attempting to get back to his feet. Seeing Detective White was fighting with Savick, the reporting party intervened to help Detective White subdue Savick. With the reporting party's assistance, Detective White was able to free himself from Savick's grasp, and they both rolled Savick onto his stomach. Savick continued to fight and attempted to push himself to his feet. Due to Savick's violent attempts to cause Detective White harm and his continued resistance, Detective White used his left forearm to strike Savick in the left side of his head and face to end Savick's resistance and force him to comply. The strike was effective and Savick stopped physically fighting. However, Savick continued to resist by placing his arms underneath his body. Detective White struck Savick in his lower body with a right fist. The strike caused Savick to release his right hand, and Detective White was able to place Savick's right arm into handcuffs. Savick continued pulling his left hand away. Eventually, Detective White secured Savick in handcuffs without further incident. When Detective White stood Savick up, he saw Savick had visible swelling to his face. Detective White requested medical personnel respond to evaluate. Detective White then transported Savick to Sutter Lakeside Hospital, where he received medical treatment. While at the hospital, Savick admitted to recently ingesting methamphetamine. While at the hospital, it was determined Savick sustained a left orbital fracture. Savick was cleared for incarceration and transported to the Hill Road Correctional Facility, where he was later booked for attempted burglary, vandalism, battery against a peace officer, and felony resisting a peace officer. The Lake County Sheriff's Office conducts very thorough use of force investigations, which typically require investigators to interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video, and analyze a significant amount of forensic evidence. These investigations can often take up to a year to complete, and our understanding of the incident may change as evidence is collected, analyzed, and reviewed. We do not draw any conclusions about whether the deputy acted consistent with our policies and the law until all facts are known and the investigation is complete. A word of caution: even though there is no video recording of the altercation in this case, the images and information you may see in the case file can be disturbing and difficult to see. Viewer discretion is advised, especially for young children and sensitive viewers.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Hey, thanks for helping him out, man.
Oh, not
I do
a problem.
appreciate it.
Not a problem. When he took him to the ground, I just jumped on his legs and made sure I held him. My officer got him cuffed. And
Yeah. Did you what did you see happen?
okay, well, I got a call from. Well, actually, my roommate did, but my roommate was here in Lakeport at the time,
Okay.
and we just live right around the corner on Clark. So I shot over there because he calls us.
Yeah.
Hey, can you go check on the house? The alarm's going on. So I shot on over there, and as I walked on the front porch, I could see where the door had been kicked in. The only thing that held the door, kept the door closed, was the deadbolt.
Yeah.
But there's footprints all over the door, and the door's all bent up. As I walk around back, here's this tweaker. That's what he is. I mean, he's just sitting there mumbling to himself. And
Yeah.
a bag of pot laying on the chair, and some pills. And so that's when I called 911, and your officer showed up and looked at the door and walked around and asked the guy his name, and he mumbled something,
Yeah.
and I think he gave his name or something. I just keeping my distance, trying to stand back, and the officer asked him to stand up. He wanted to look at his shoes to make sure the shoe prints matched, but he wanted to look at it, and the guy didn't comply. So the officer stepped up a little bit closer and stand up, put your hands behind your back. And the guy didn't comply. He mumbled something, so the officer went hands-on with him.
Okay.
And as he grabbed him and came up, I think the guy fell into the officer's elbow. And then down to the deck they went. And then that's when I jumped on his legs, held his legs while the officer got him cuffed.
Okay.
And
Did you see the guy kind of fall on top of the deputy a little bit when they fell to the ground?
When the officer went like this, they fell backwards.
Okay.
Okay, and so the deputy went over backwards too.
Yeah.
And they kind of tussled for a second. And when the officer was on top of him, I was just paying attention to his legs because the guy was flailing his legs. So that's when I just jumped on and grabbed his legs.
Okay.
And held him tight so the officer could get better control of him.
Did you see the guy kind of fall on top of him, like?
When he grabbed, what it looked like is when he grabbed him, they went backwards, and the guy kind of fell on the officer.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, everything was happening so fast.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing that I knew what to do was to jump on the guy's legs and grab his legs so he couldn't struggle or fight anymore.
Okay.
And so the officer could get better control of him.
Did you see the guy kind of put his hands close to the deputy's neck or on the deputy's neck at all?
When the officer went like this, the guy reached up.
Okay. Did you see where he put his hands when he reached up?
I didn't exactly see where he put his hands. I mean, it happened so fast.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You know, I wasn't expecting him to go hands-on that quick with him. And but when the guy didn't comply, and you could tell the guy was totally spun out.
Yeah.
You know, but when he went like this, the guy went like this, and then they went to the ground.
And then, so when you saw them go to the ground, were you able to? I know it happened fast. Because it sounds like when they fell backwards together. And
I think the guy slammed his face also on the deck too.
Okay.
Okay, because there was a puddle of blood on the deck.
Okay.
And I think when they went to the ground, because the officer grabbed him like this and was kind of like this, and the guy was reaching up, and then they went to the ground, and the officer actually hit the ground first.
Yeah.
With the guy on top of him, and then that's when he was trying, and then that's when I jumped in and just wrapped my arms around his legs, and laid on his legs while the officer got control of him.
Okay. You grabbed his legs while the guy was still on top of the deputy?
It's a possibility.
Okay. Did you see the deputy actually try to strike him, or did he just hit his, like, kind of run into his elbow?
No, it was more of a defensive type thing.
Okay.
You know, when the officer went to, because he wouldn't comply.
Yeah.
And he had asked him, stand up, put your hands behind your back, and when he wouldn't comply, the officer went to stand him up, and then the guy went like that. And it happened so fast.
Yeah.
They do.
And, I'm just grateful you were there, sir, because it's, you just never know.
Yeah, you just never know. And when they went to the ground, I know the officer hit the ground first.
Yeah.
Okay, and then from that point on, I know I just jumped on the guy's legs and wrapped his legs up, and I was laying down on the ground with his legs like this.
Okay.
And then the officer got full control and was able to handcuff him.
Okay, then after you got him handcuffed, there was no more altercation?
Then there was no more altercation. He stood him up, set him in the seat, back in the chair, and just stepped back. But the officer definitely hit the ground first because his shirt and his pants and all of that were covered from the deck.
Oh, okay.
Dust on the deck.
Okay. Does the homeowner live here, or is he out of town?
No, he lives in...
Okay.
This is his summer home.
Gotcha.
And we've known for, don't ask me how, it's
long time.
I can't pronounce it.
There's some eyes in there, probably?
But, yeah, probably.
Okay.
If you need number
I think he did call after he called you. I think he did call us.
Okay.
But I'll get it from you just in case. All right, sir. I appreciate it. Sorry to get cut into your day.
Oh, no, not a problem. Not a problem.
Just, every time there's uses of force like that, we like to get, if there's witnesses, we like to talk to them.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, no,
sure.
I totally understand.
So.
And the officer even said somebody will probably contact you or I will or whatever. But
yeah, he was going to, but I just figured I'd do it for him. He's got enough stuff to do now. So
yeah.
But again, thank you for your help, sir.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And your officer actually called me on the way out, on his way out there.
That's what he said. He wanted to.
And which I was grateful for. I really appreciate that because I'm standing there. I'm not going to let the guy go.
Yeah.
It was obvious. And we have pictures, and I think your officer took some pictures of the door too.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and so it was obvious, and the guy was tweaked, and I'm grateful that he called.
Yeah.
And the guy did stay calm, you know, but he was tweaked out, but he would follow your officer's commands.
Yeah, which is, none of those things happen. People just.
Yeah, and the officer even told him that, you know, this didn't have to happen this way.
Yeah.
All you had to do was comply.
It's super easy. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Take care, okay?
All right, thank you, guys.